welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, I am J Cool. I post interesting videos such as daily news, entertainment, filming, so you need to subscribe.
We are joined by the Minister of Information and Media, Honorable Mweetwa Cornelius. He joins me, of course, coming from his home in Ichoma Central, who is also a member of Parliament. Honorable, good evening and welcome to KBN TV, State of the Nation.
Good evening, Innocent. Good evening to our dear viewers on State of the Nation on KBN. Happy New Year to you all, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you, Honorable Minister. How is your constituents before we look at the happenings in our country?
Well, the constituency is all right. At least we have some showers of some rains, and many people are out there in the fields planting. As you know, this is planting season. We are faced with one challenge here in Choma, where many stockists have run out of seed because many people out there have heeded to the presidential advice that we all go back to the land to produce more maize, so that we can answer to the question of Ungawadula.
Minister, we are happy to join you, of course, via the online gadget that, of course, God has provided to us, the people of Zambia. And of course, congratulations to you, of course, as a minister, for ensuring that the Access to Information Law is finally enacted. It has been a long journey to we in the media and of course the general public. Congratulations once again.
Thank you very much. I think the bigger congratulations go to the people of Zambia. They have always been knocking at the doorsteps of each and every government that they needed the access to information law so that members of the public can have an opportunity to fully participate in the governance of their nation by way of accessing certain information which will help them inform the choices they make as they go around interacting with their government.
Minister, let's get into it. I know that we've got a number of issues on the menu this evening, so we'll try by all means to cruise. Of course, we'll look at the cost of living. Of course, let me begin. Just I'll give you a blank check, a blank, a chance to just look at how last year was in terms of governance from your end as the New Dawn government.
Well, I mean, governance 2023 in terms of governance, I think has been quite a year to remember. This is a year where the majority of our citizens have epitomized their freedoms to speak, freedom of expression, and the newly found freedoms that have been enhanced by the repeal of the defamation of the president, law has widened the scope within which citizens are able to interact with their president and with their government. I think that we have seen that it is possible in Zambia to have wide-ranging freedoms with people commenting, about the president, commenting about government, and no one getting threatened by anyone on account of what they take for in terms of commenting on government. So we have also seen that in 2023, there has been an enhanced, approach to the rule of law. I think that it has been, for me, 2023 has been the year to settle in various, sectors of our country, particularly to do with governance. I think that 2024 is a year now to begin smooth sailing of all the various sectors and the promises that were made to begin to consolidate ahead of the dash for 2026.
Because I know that these are the issues which are, of course, a discussion in the mouth of the Zambian people.
Do you wish to come through with that question again, because I didn't quite get you when you started asking?
how does your economic blueprint looks like this year? In the year 2024, you are aware that the economy hasn't been okay. The economy is not okay even now as we speak. What is there for the Zambian people?
Well, first of all, that's a very important question. 2024 is the year that is really going to define the deliverables for this administration of New Dawn administration. And I think that to answer that question, we have to look at what measures has the government put in place to begin to respond to the economic challenges that we are faced with as a people. Firstly, we must start from where it should be, that we must look at our situation and ask ourselves, how did we get here? Where are we? That question has to be answered all the time when we talk about the current economic situation. Is there something that this government has put in place that has either exacerbated the situation or made the situation even better? So I want to indicate that 2 years, 5 months now of a New Dawn administration, we are still, getting out of the situation we found ourselves in 2021 of inheriting an economy which was in ICU, one which was growing at -2% GDP growth rate, and one which was unable to sustain.
It's 9 o'clock.
Which was unable to sustain its responsibilities insofar as it relates to balance of payment responsibilities to our creditors and also to our local creditors. That is the starting point of why we are here where we are. Now, what has government done in 2023 going into 2024 and therefore begin to give a glimmer of hope? Number one, we are all witnesses that the government in the last few weeks has entered into agreements to ensure that Mopane and KCM begin to function at full strength. We are also aware that Shaft 28 in Luansha is also going to begin to operate after more than 2 decades of being defunct. Therefore, when the 2 giant mines on the copper belt are functioning at full strength, we know therefore that the economy of the copper belt will be up and running. And once the economy of the copper belt is up and running, we know that the economy of Zambia will be up and running. And also, government through the Bank of Zambia has also introduced a very interesting move where the Bank of Zambia now will be tracking exports, from Zambia to ensure that we keep record of that which is being exported from Zambia and ensure that funds that are realized out of the exports from this country are deposited in Zambian banks to ensure the buoyancy of the Zambian currency. I think that is one move which I think that is going to help address the kwacha dollar relationship situation presently playing out. We've also seen that in 2023, the government has gone ahead to fully diversify agriculture by way of not just supporting FISIP, which is some kind of a social security mechanism to ensure household food security at national level. The government has introduced the agricultural credit facility, which has attracted a lot of demand from many people out there who want to access these loans so that they can get involved in the production dominantly of maize, given that maize now is our newly found gold. So when you consider this particular issue, that this year, God willing, with good rains, we are going to have a real bumper harvest. You are talking about the economy rebounding, because as we speak right now, we have a situation in the country where, as a result of a ban on export of maize, you have cut one of the income revenue streams in terms of forex, which is was coming through export of maize. Now, once we produce more and we are able to export, we are having to have an opportunity to be able to rebound in a very, very strong way, which is just about maybe 4 or 5 months from now when we harvest, it is really, really looking good out there. We who are farmers are innocent. And that's why I'm here. I took a holiday, a leave to be here to come and take advantage of the planting season. And we are just praying to God that we do have normal rains. I think that the situation, the outlook out there, the agricultural, harvest outlook out there is really, really looking good and very, very promising. So if you are going to have agriculture firing on all cylinders, and you're going to have mines firing, on all cylinders, then we know that Zambia's economy, which is dependent primarily on these two main legs, will be up and running, and that is 2024 for you.
Thank you so much, Minister. Let's now deal with the basics, Minister, when it comes to this subject about the economy. Of course, the citizens, they do appreciate all these efforts that are being put up, in ensuring that we structure the debt, which has been a thorny issue in the, eyes of many Zambians. But let's bring it now back home to the people of Choma Central. These are the ordinary Zambians. When you talk about transforming the economy, they would want to hear, they want to learn from you, for how long are Zambians going to endure this economic malaise we are in right now? Because as we speak right now, you are aware, Minister, that the cost of living keeps on increasing on a daily basis. When you talk about fuel as well, it's something that has been very on a rise on a daily basis. Each and every month, we've seen that the cost of fuel keeps on increasing. Of course, kudos to you that in the last 3 months, you've just maintained the figures to about 29, 28 kwacha per liter. But all that is quite biting, Minister. The question is, for how long should Zambians wait for you to ensure that all these commodities begin to, trickle down?
First of all, Innocent, it has to be understood in context that when you talk about the cost of living is informed by cost of production of goods and services and the volumes that you produce those goods and services that impact the pricing of goods on a shelf. So when you talk about cost of living in Zambia, primarily you are talking about the cost of milk, the cost of cooking oil, the cost of carpenter, the cost of salt and sugar. Now, to be able to address the cost of living, you need first to address the cost of production. And what has the government done to ensure that the cost of production, primarily of maize, which is our staple food and therefore impacts to a greater extent the pricing of milling? The government has firstly encouraged local production of fertilizer, because fertilizer is the major ingredient that informs the cost of production of maize and therefore ultimately the pricing of milling. So the government has done what is can be referred to as positive discrimination by ensuring that local companies that are involved in the production of fertilizer, such as basal dressing or D compound, or compound D as it is called, which is basal dressing fertilizer. The government has ensured that it has done an affirmative action kind of an approach by giving Nitrogen Chemicals of Zambia and United Chemical Fertilizers, which are local companies, to ensure that they are the ones that were to produce this fertilizer in that on agreement that government was going to purchase all its national fertilizer requirements from these two producers. And true to government's word, this year the government has not imported a single grain of basal dressing from outside the country. That has ensured that the pricing of fertilizer this year slightly gone down, because in 2021 a ton of fertilizer was worth 1,200 United States dollars. This year a ton of fertilizer is costing 870 United States dollars. So that saving which has been made has gone to inform the pricing of fertilizer. Further, we have not just as a country benefited in terms of being producers of fertilizer, which will gradually and progressively reducing in terms of pricing. We've also been able to hold back, local jobs, which would have been exported had we been importing fertilizers from outside the country. Further, Zambia now is well poised and has already begun to execute itself as a net exporter of fertilizer. You saw not too long ago that Zambia was exporting fertilizer to Botswana, having already satisfied national fertilizer average requirements. Zambia also went ahead to begin to export fertilizer to Egypt. This is good news for Zambia, because when you export the way we are exporting fertilizer, it means you are opening a revenue stream to Ghana Forex, which is very, very important for this country. So that is one measure which government did. And last year, on 26th of June 2023, the president did groundbreaking for the construction of a company that will now be producing top-dressing fertilizer to ensure that going forward in 2025, as we go into 2026, Zambia will no longer import top dressing. We'll be producing both basal and top dressing fertilizers locally, and that therefore will gradually and progressively be informing the pricing of fertilizer. So that, for me and for us in government, is a step in the right direction towards informing the cost of living, the cost of the price of minimum. Further, as a result of the demonstrated political will, leadership that the president has shown to call out the citizens. You remember the president's call on New Year's Day, his message, 2024 message for the people of Zambia, New Year's message was for him to reaffirm his call to all our citizens to go out there and invest decent portfolios of hard work to ensure that we work hard, so that when we work hard, we can produce more. And the nation is responding in a very, very strong way, meaning that if we are going to produce more maize this year, the law of supply and demand kicks in, that when you have more supply, naturally the demand side, when it gets out, when you outstrip demand with supply, the prices begin to tumble. So these things are not going to be dealt with by a government wishing that the prices should go down. It has to be dealt with by us being involved in producing something. That is how economics work, because we are found between a hard surface and a rock right now. There are some people who are even suggesting that why isn't government thinking of subsidizing, minimum, subsidizing this and that? Well, that is, for now, it's untenable, because you cannot do what the government has already, go beyond what the government has already done. Firstly, FISIP is an entire package of a subsidy to a farmer, so to speak. We caution agriculture as government to a very, very large extent through FISIP. So the maize we produce is already cushioned or subsidized by government. That is number one. And that is why you see that this year, the Ministry of Agriculture has indicated that all those who are on the FISIP beneficiary list, they will have to sell to FRA, because the maize they produce, it is already subsidized maize, by government. So that is one issue that has already been dealt with. Secondly, the government is subsidizing a number of issues. The government is subsidizing education, for instance, free education from grade 1 up to 12. It's not free. Government is paying for it. Government is paying for exam, fees. Government has reinstated meal allowances for students at public universities that were taken away a few years ago by the previous administration. Government has ensured that men and women in uniform, when they come from peace-keeping missions, the government does not dip its fingers in the allowances of the people, its officers, that the officers worked, for themselves.
Permit
the government
Minister to come in with just a follow-up question as you proceed. Yeah, thank you so much. Let me come in, Minister, with just a follow-up question as you proceed. I want to bring you back to the meal issue, the agriculture sector, which of course you've taken much of your time to emphasize what the government is doing in order to improve this sector. But again, mud has been thrown at you, where some stakeholders, including parliamentarians, your fellow MPs, and the people of Zambia are saying the meal crisis we have right now, the high cost of meal that we are witnessing in the country, has been triggered by you and your government in power. Because when we had bumper harvest in terms of maize, you went on rampage exporting the same maize, and later on this could have triggered now to the crisis of meal that we have right now. How would you resolve these issues? And do you take responsibility for all these problems that the stakeholders are accusing you that you have caused?
Thank you very much, Innocent. And it is good you are using the word accused, because you can get accused for something which is not actually true. Here is the reality, and on the ground. It is not shortage of meal, which is a crisis. It is pricing of meal, not its shortage. We don't have a maize shortage in Zambia. We don't have a meal shortage in Zambia. We do have a crisis to do with escalation of pricing, which government has since arrested by the interventional measure it put in place to bring about ZNS and its allied millers, who came on board to begin to mill meal and selling it at a certain constant price, which may not necessarily be the best could have done, but is what is affordable under the circumstances. And the people out there, Innocent, the majority citizens, do appreciate what their government was able to do. Now, let me not lose myself in this discourse by not answering your question square and fair. Number one, the minimum crisis, the minimum price crisis we talk about here, Innocent, struck the nation before a single bag of maize or meal was exported by the government Republic of Zambia. True or false? The answer is true. So it is not true, therefore, that by government's move to export maize to DRC, or is it minimal to DRC, we triggered this crisis. No. This crisis started somewhere early, around February last year, and the maize which was exported to DRC was exported maybe 6-7 months later from the time the crisis started. So those are the facts as they stand on the ground. I now wish to proceed, therefore, having established that the government is not the reason why we have this seeming crisis, that in fact the export, Innocent, of maize to DRC was a very important and necessary program of government in view of what government intends to achieve this year going forward. Remember that that order for that maize from DRC was made much earlier on, and it was entered into at government to government level in terms of agreement. And therefore, in international trade, Innocent, if you are going to make an undertaking to provide a particular goods or services, and when the time comes you fail to deliver on account of a particular situation, you distort your reliability and integrity in the market, meaning therefore that the next time you are going to produce more, you find you don't have a willing buyer, because the last time you had entered into an agreement, you failed to deliver. That is the same thing, Innocent, which happened when we had load shedding, that the government continued to export a certain small percentage of power to neighboring countries to ensure that our contractual obligations remain standing, so that when we have a normal situation of surplus supply of electricity, we have a ready market and a willing buyer. That was the issue with the export of maize or meal meal to the DRC. It was meant to hold on to the market, given the intended massive investments into more production of maize, which currently is undergoing, in this country. Imagine now, Innocent, that we are going to be harvesting 3-4 months from now, and a lot of people, I can tell you, have been in the village here. A lot of people, fields that were last plowed 10, 15, 20 years, people are going back to those fields. People are busy planting. And now imagine you have a real bumper harvest, but you don't have a ready market. What is going to happen? You find those are situations where you find now, because you have more maize, you collapse the price of maize, meaning you are beginning to discourage farmers from producing maize, which in fact is your staple food. So the export of maize or meal meal to DRC has nothing whatsoever to do with the price crisis of meal meal. I'm happy, Innocent, to remind you that from the time ZNS and its allied millers came on board, the issue of the price of meal meal has been arrested. Yes, some people are still saying we could have done better, but under the circumstances, Innocent, to move the price of meal meal from 292 kwacha, 300 or after 300 to 227 kwacha breakfast, I think that is a milestone which for us as government, we are not going to say government should be praised. It is a milestone that we must be able to recognize our citizens that it will go a long way to assist
Minister,
many afford.
are you fully convinced, Minister, that the 278 kwacha bag of meal meal is cheaper as we speak right now? Or maybe, are you speaking maybe in your position as a minister, but you're not really feeling the pinch of the ordinary Zambians who are failing actually even to find that 200 kwacha, 300 kwacha to buy a bag of meal meal? How do you justify that the 270 kwacha or 300 kwacha is cheaper based on what you have submitted? The next question I would want you to answer, Minister, is basically, can you tell the Zambian people how much money did the government of Zambia under the UPND government make out of the export of maize? From the time you began the exportation of maize, selling to other neighboring countries, how much money have we made as a country?
Well, first of all, Innocent, the meal meal from ZNS is not selling at 270. It is selling at 227 kwacha. It initially was 230. In fact, not even 227. It's 219. There about. It was
which one, Minister? You seem to have a lot of figures right now. 225, 270. Which one is the actual figure?
The actual figure,
yes,
Innocent, please, was that when ZNS started milling to sell with its allied, breakfast was selling at 220 kwacha, and roller meal was selling at 190 kwacha. After other millers came on board, we had more millers joining ZNS. There was a slight adjustment of the price from 220 to about 219, going down in that direction. That is what is happening on the ground. Now, if you followed me, Innocent, I actually said this price may not be what we would have liked it to be. But under the circumstances, it is far much better than where it initially was at 292, 300. To reduce it to 220 is a milestone. That is what I actually said. Issue number 2, how much money was made? I think that this is in public domain, innocent, that Zambia exported to DRC to the tune of 14.5 thereabout, round off 15 million United States dollars worth of maize or maize meal to the Democratic Republic of Congo.
All right. Thank you so much, Minister. Now, as we move away from the staple food discussion, what you are giving the people of Zambia, what you're explaining right now, Minister, is basically contrary to what you promised when you were in the opposition. Your figure was to bring the cost of milli meal to about 50 kwacha as per promise. Will there be a time when Zambians will be able to buy milli meal, a bag of milli meal, at 50 kwacha based on the campaign promise? Because remember that Zambians voted for you based on that premise, among other premises.
First of all, Innocent, I would like to put this question to rest once and for all. Contractually, when you enter into a contract with someone for the supply of certain goods, and then something which you did not plan for in the transaction procedures of what you have contracted to supply, something comes in which we refer to as at law as an intervening variable, then it means what you had agreed to perform gets compromised, and it is not the fault of any of the contracting parties. So when you talk about milli meal for 50 kwacha, for instance, who knew at the time we were campaigning that once we are in government, we'll find there will be a Russia-Ukraine war, which will affect the pricing of fuel, and fuel informs or drives the production cost of milli meal. Who knew? Did you know yourself, Innocent, that there will be a war in Russia and Ukraine, and it will make the price of fuel unaffordable by many? No one knew. This is an intervening variable. Number 2, Innocent, as we speak now, we are talking about an economy, or particularly agricultural sector-based economy, whose farmers had begun to shun production of maize because the previous administration was giving an unattractive price of maize. Plain speaking, turning farmers into laborers for production of cheap maize. So what did farmers do? They started shunning away producing maize and went for soybeans because there was a good price for soybeans, because the government then was promoting aquaculture, expansion of the aquaculture. As you know, soybeans is a major ingredient in fish feed. So people started going into production of soybeans and shunned production of maize. And therefore, the same thing we are talking about, Innocent, much earlier on. When you are going to have demand outstrip supply, you are going to have an escalation of pricing. Now, to address this issue of price, I can tell you that the way government is going, looking at the programs it is putting in place, credit facility, FISIP to continue, and just the introduction of turning FISIP into a comprehensive agricultural support program that is looking at agriculture holistically. And when you look at this year's budget 2024, you find that 22% of that budget has gone to economic sectors, particularly to agriculture, because we know that there, when you put money, it is not a sinkhole. There will be an economic spin-off benefit because that is an investment, sector of our country. You are going to see going forward progressively reduced pricing of mealie meal going forward. Now, here is how it works, Innocent. You may actually never reach a place where today you go to a shop, you find there is a tag on a bag written mealie meal, 50 kwacha. Because as time goes, because of inflation, which informs the general rise of pricing, you will find that you may never reach 50 kwacha, but mealie meal at some point becomes more affordable. In terms of amount, it may be higher, but more affordable because you are producing more and you are having more mealie meal being accessed and being afforded by more. That is how it works. So for us to remain with a simplistic approach that where the mealie meal for 50 kwacha, it will not take us anywhere. We now must be able to say, what are the governmental measures that have been put in place in the next 2-3 years?
To answer my question, what is your answer? What you answer, Honorable Minister, based on what we've explained? You've talked about the external shocks that you've highlighted. You've talked about the Russia-Ukraine war, among other external factors. What is your final answer in this regard? Zambians are waiting for you and the Udon government to meet your promise, to address that promise of reducing the cost of mealie meal to 50 kwacha as per your campaign promise. What is your simplistic answer to a voter out there?
First of all, Innocent, let me put it there, because you are my friend. I'll tell you, the only people who are saying they want mealie meal for 50 kwacha are PF, because PF are not realistic people. Zambians who are realistic know that there is no way overnight you can start selling mealie meal for 50 kwacha, because you first have to produce more, and to produce more does not take one cycle of producing maize. You need to invest in the sector, the agricultural sector. There are many things to be done. That is why you have seen in this year's national budget, Innocent, the government has set aside funding to employ agricultural extension officers. And the president, when he was addressing the nation, did reiterate this particular issue of improving yield and productivity hectareage. Those are some of the issues. In this particular national budget for 2024, Innocent, you have seen what the government has done. It has set aside funding to be able to do roads and bridges in farming blocks as a way of revamping farming blocks to be able to be more productive once more. All these things that are, when you put them together and all the measures, bear fruit to the fullest, then you can now ask me about how much a bag of mealie meal is going to ask. The fact that, Innocent, you form government does not in itself entail that all the things you promised, you do them there and then. There are those that can be done that do not require time. You do them, such as restoration of the rule of law, ensuring that there is no cadarism at bus stops and markets, to ensure those are just by word of mouth from the commander-in-chief of the armed forces to say, this I don't want, this I don't want, this. Unlike the way it was in the past, where ZCID every day had to call a round table meeting. No, let's discuss about ending violence. So those things that require just a stroke of a pen or
Honorable
just
Minister,
wait
for the sake of time, Honorable Minister,
they have been done.
Honorable Minister, I would want us to manage our time very well. I think we've taken much of our time on this topic. I think it's either you are being too technical in your response to this simple question, or basically you are deliberately avoiding to answer my question. My question is, and maybe you may have to justify why you think that the people are demanding for you to implement, this promise of bringing the cost of mealie meal to 50 kwacha, as you promised, are the PF members. which I don't think so, because if indeed they are PF members, I don't know if the PF even voted for you. If PF, they might have voted for themselves as PF members. So how would you know that these are PF members? Away from that, Minister, maybe please answer this question in a very simplistic manner. Will there be a time, maybe in the next 5 years, the mandate that you have, or maybe the next 10 years, will there be a time when Zambians will have access to cheaper milli meal or a 50 kg bag of milli meal to 50 kwacha? As simple as that. That's my question.
Innocent. Zambia, the Zambian economy is market forces driven. It's not driven by government. Government does not determine prices. Government creates an environment within which those who are doing business should be able to do business, but it puts in place policies that would favor its people.
So among
so
the
it's not up to government
that you are
now
putting in place, among all the promise, the fundamentals or the policies that are being put in place right now, there is not any policy, there is not any fundamental formula that will trigger the cost of milli meal to come to 50 kwacha in the next 5 years to come. Not so?
Innocent, I thought I was explaining to you the measures that government has put in place, starting with the production
you
of
have, Minister, but you've not answered my question. You have explained, of course, Minister, but you have not answered my question. Will there be a time, do you envisage as a UPND government to bring the cost of milli meal to 50 kwacha as you promised? As simple as that, Minister.
Innocent, let me make you happy. I do not see myself, as I speak now, that next year they put 50 kwacha. I don't see that. But I see that with more investment in that sector and more people getting involved to produce more, there will be a general decline in the pricing of milli meal. That is the answer.
Right. Thank you so much, Minister. We can now move on to another subject. What about the fuel as well? We've seen that fuel, keeps on increasing. Of course, you brought in the issue of the external shocks that we've encountered as a country. But beyond that, what is Plan B to ensure that the cost of fuel is brought down? I know, for example, maybe cite you as a minister. I know that to you ministers, you get free fuel. Your livelihood is being subsidized by the people of Zambia through the taxpayers that Zambians are subscribing. But what about an ordinary Zambian out there? Do you intend to possibly subsidize fuel in the long run?
First of all, let me correct that anomaly. I am not subsidized by, my fuel is not subsidized by the people of Zambia. The fuel that I use, I'm paid because I offer a service. Just like the way you are working there, when you are paid, no one can say you use free fuel. I don't draw any free fuel from any pump myself. I buy like anybody from the salary that I'm paid for working for it. Secondly, the issue of subsidizing fuel is one which I cannot guarantee right now because of the debt trap situation we find ourselves in as a country. Right now, we are, reached advanced stages of negotiating, the debt restructuring. And Innocent, just a simple, some of these things we must simplify them. If I owe you 5,000 kwacha, and I am failing to pay you that 5,000, then I begin to negotiate how you should give me more time. I should be paying you in installments, maybe up to somewhere in June this year, every month, maybe 1 pin. When in fact I was supposed to have paid you that lump sum just in this January. Innocent, schools have just opened. I have to buy uniforms, I have to buy this and this. Then I'm negotiating, you're about to agree. Then you hear that me now, you find me at Manda Hill buying suits and shoes. Are you going to tolerate me with my negotiations that I should stagger payments to you? No. So when you are in a debt situation that we are in, and we're all this side negotiating with the IMF stimulus package. One of the conditionalities for IMF stimulus, package, we are negotiating, and we are beginning now to receive, funding, is prudent. Its commitment to prudent utilization of those resources in needy economic and those important social areas. And subsidy is not one of them, because a subsidy, if you substitute the word subsidy, you can actually say it's a luxury. Now, I'm not saying it's a luxury to assist the vulnerable people, but in terms of economics, if you don't have money to pay debts, but you have money to give as a subsidy, is like a handout, then no serious creditor is going to agree to negotiate with you. You are in a debt situation which is unsustainable, therefore let us stagger these payments. So this is a situation, unfortunately, Innocent, we found ourselves trapped in 2021. When you talk about the fuel sector itself, it is a sorry sight that our colleagues, even when they join talking about the cost of pricing of fuel, they don't tell the nation the full story, that they left a staggering 700 million United States dollars owing to oil marketing companies. They were just getting fuel on credit ahead of elections so that the fuel supply situation in the nation looks sober. 700 million United States dollars, which this government is struggling to pay at the moment. Now, if you still have such debt stock, where are you going to find money to begin to subsidize fuel? Maybe as we are in government, we are not the alpha and omega of thinking. We don't have
these are the problems, Minister.
logic.
You did, of course, promise to come and fix. You came on the premise of wanting to fix the economy. These are the problems that you assured Zambians that were coming in as the fixers. So why can't you fix? Why are you lamenting? Because you are in power. You're supposed to provide solutions, and Zambians are holding you accountable now. But all you seemingly to be doing now is like you are still lamenting about the past mistakes which the previous administration might have caused.
I am not lamenting. When you ask me a question, I am duty bound to tell you the historical perspective of the challenge we have presently. So there is no lamentation whatsoever. I only answer questions according to how you have asked them. Right. Secondly, I wish to indicate here that what the government has done to reduce the price of fuel. Number one, it has transformed the usage of the Tazama pipeline from a carrier of commingled crude oil from Dar es Salaam to Indeni. Now that pipeline is carrying final products, so that you reduce the pricing of fuel, which was going to be transported on the road. Now it is being transported on the pipeline. And the Minister of Finance, when delivering his budget speech for 2024, actually invited the business community out there that going by the efficiency that is required in relation to the demand in the nation, the business community are being called out that there is an opportunity for the construction of another pipeline to run pari passu with the Tazama pipeline to expand carriage capacity. That is one particular issue which the government has put in place. And it is also another issue, really, before I forget, is that Zambia now entered into an MOU with Angola on our neighbors, and also Mozambique, for the supply of oil from our neighboring countries, other than just relying on oil coming from far ashore. And also, the government is looking ahead into the future that with the emergency of electric vehicles, that is why the government has put in place a policy that those who want to come and mine lithium, let them also come and put value addition plants here in Zambia to begin to produce lithium batteries, electric batteries here in Zambia. And I'm happy to report that one Chinese firm has already indicated that this particular year, 2024, they will begin production of batteries in Chibombo. So these are many of the issues that the government is putting on the table to sample which options are there. The government is not just sitting by. The government has put in place those mechanisms, and those are the mechanisms. There is no mechanism, innocent, that the government has on the table and it without applying the same.
All right. Thank you so much, Minister. Now let's get to another critical, topic that's to deal with the rule of law in Zambia, because that's something that, of course, you promised the people of Zambia that once ushered into office, you were going to ensure that good governance was going to be your, daily routine. Where are we now? Some concerns. Citizens up to now, they feel that the UPND government is becoming more harsh on some critical voices. These are the opposition leaders who have lamented. As we speak right now, there is actually even a court who's your SG has been quoted having said, your deputy SG, Madam Batuke Menda, Gertrude Menda rather, I apologize, who is quoted that the opposition will no longer be holding public rallies because the situation or security situation is quite volatile. Again, there is another statement that, of course, the IG himself has been quoted as well by we in the media, having said that there will be no public rallies whatsoever. What is the position of government regarding all this debate going on?
Thank you very much, Innocent. And allow me to use two capes here that I must wear them both now to speak as a party spokesperson of the UPND and give a UPND position in that regard. That we as UPND, as a party, will live and govern this country by the rule of law and not the rule of men. We as a party respect the decisions of government, and that we are very clear about the distinction of government and a party. And therefore, as a party, we shall not do anything that undermines what government stands, what we have stood for many years in the opposition. Let me take this opportunity to indicate their government's position that the government Republic of Zambia, under the able leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema, has no intentions whatsoever to stifle citizens' rights to freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and freedom of association. There is nothing like that whatsoever. And I would like to indicate that it is not party and it is not government position that the opposition will no longer peaceably assemble in the manner they like in the marketplace of ideas for them to interact with the citizens. That is not party position, that is not government position, and that is what I'm saying. And so, there will be times like this when individuals may say certain things. If those things that are said are not in sync with the position of government, I'm afraid to give government position. And the position I give is final. There is only one
And
person
what
who
are you going to
can
do to your
indirect,
deputy
and
SG,
that is the
Madam
president.
Minister, my question is, you are the spokesperson for the party UPND. At the same time, again, you are the chief government spokesperson for the ruling party, which is the government. And your deputy SG is on record having, informed the general public that there will be no public rallies. What are you going to do? Because you are all senior leaders in that political party.
You are right, Innocent. Except that I think that here what you are doing is you asked me to give you government position. I've given you that what Madam Imenda said is not government position as government spokesperson. Number two, what Madam Imenda said is not party position. Because as a party, we have no authority whatsoever to stop another party or parties from holding political rallies. We don't have that authority. We are not like PF, who would use a party platform to say, no, this will be a no-go area. No, such kind of politics is bad politics. So I want the nation to know that under the leadership of President HH, the opposition will continue to thrive. The opposition will continue to hold political gatherings, the political rallies.
Are you
There
telling
is
us,
no two ways
Minister,
about it.
Honorable Minister, are you telling me that in your party there is no discipline whatsoever? You live in an organization where any leader can wake up in the morning and in the evening and issue statements that they feel like without really counter-checking with some of you, the leaders. Are you telling me that there's no discipline in your political party? And again, the IG has been quoted as well. Are you telling me that the IG spoke these remarks representing himself and not the government which you are part of?
I want to indicate here, Innocent, that the Inspector of Police is the head of the police service. So, I do not want to bring him into this debate because police should not be debated through this political platform. My job is to give government position. It's as simple as that. Unless you are forgetting, Innocent, that you are asking me as chief government spokesperson to give government position. Because when I give you government position, that is final. It means whatever else was said does not stand anymore. Unless you are saying, also me, you are taking me with contempt. If you ask me to give you a position of government as government spokesperson, I'll give you just that. If you are asking me as a party spokesperson, I'll give you just that. The idea of having a party spokesperson is to have a person who will give an official position of the party. The idea of having a chief government spokesperson is to have one person who will give an official position of government when there are so many statements coming from all over. This is what I've just done. So, this is government position. The opposition in Zambia will continue to peaceably and freely assemble.
Minister, how can you be trusted, Minister? Why should Zambians trust your position right now as government when it is the same government and the IG who has from time to time indicated to some opposition political party leaders who have planned or intended in the past to hold public rallies, and they've been told that you can't go ahead because the situations, the situation system in the country is not okay. So how can you be trusted, Minister?
Thank you, Innocent, for that question. I think for me, it's not a question of how much I should be trusted or how we must be trusted. It's a question of the law. What does the law say? And this is a government of laws, not of men. And so, President HH will do everything possible to ensure that the law is defended to the latter. And in this new year of 2024, I want to assure the nation that 2024 should be a new beginning going forward. I think that we have been in government enough now that some of the teething challenges we faced in the last 2 years should no longer be part and parcel of the excuses of the situations that we must find ourselves in. It is now time to do things by the book of the law.
All right. Thank you so much, Minister. Let's move on to another issue. I'll also bring in the accusations on your government, of course, from your critics who have said that your government seems to be selective when it comes to implementing or the application of the rule of law in our country. And the examples that we can cite here, we've got a case where today your SG now, Mr. Batuke Menda, has been again reported by Mr. Sean Tembo because he feels that your government, through the police, the judiciary, are not moving in ensuring that Mr. Menda is prosecuted before the courts of law, is cleared before the courts of law, the same way we have seen other leaders in the opposition who have been arrested for hate speech or, seemingly hate speech. And here comes your SG, your Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Batuke Menda, who called the Archbishop of Lusaka, Bishop Alik Banda, among others, that is a Lucifer of Zambia. And this matter was reported by Mr. Kasonde Mwenda. I think that was a week later. Mr. Batuke Menda has never been arrested. While others, I can cite the case of Honorable Chimbakambwili, among others, Sean Tembo himself. These are some of the individuals who have been arrested for hate speech. How fair is your government?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to speculate. I will not speculate. I will speak from information within my possession. What I know, where I sit here, is that Honorable Imenda, and indeed the leadership of our party and government, met the Catholic bishops, the president inclusive, met the Catholic bishops once that issue came up. And it was on a round table discussion, and it ended up amicably. I think I'm not far from the fact that an apology was rendered by Honorable Imenda to the Catholic bishops, who accepted the apology. Now, Innocent, you may wish to know that in terms of Section 8 of the Subordinate Courts Act, the courts allow and do, or does the law promote reconciliation between individuals over matters that are not of grave nature, that are not felonious in nature. Section 8 of the Subordinate Courts Act, if I call you a name and then quickly I call you, sorry, I know I was taken by emotions or whatever, we are able to reconcile. Somebody can't wake up from nowhere and say, no, we heard what Mr. Mweetwa said on that State of the Nation addressed to Innocent.
At what point, Minister, was this apology rendered to the Catholic Church? Honorable Minister, I want you to put this on record. At what point was this apology rendered to the Catholic bishops by Honorable Batuke Menda? In which month was it?
Well, I mean, there was a meeting which was held. I may not just speak out the month. Remember that there are two issues here. There is a pending meeting between government and the Catholic bishops. That has nothing to do with the Lucifer story. The Lucifer issue, that issue, once it came out, the Catholic bishops, they met, the president, and the president first sent, a contingent of, I think, 7 ministers who met with the leadership of the Catholic Church, and then after that, a meeting was held where discussions were held and a reconciliation is struck. Now, the only thing is that, and I think it was even in the media, so I'm surprised that Maybe you missed that one.
I don't think so, Minister. It was not, maybe from where I stand as KBN TV, that apology was not really rendered, or maybe we never captured it with as KBN TV from where I stand. But I'll bring to your attention, Honorable Minister, that on 10th of November this year, last year rather, the Catholic bishops in their pastoral letter, these were among the issues they highlighted, that they feel offended because Honorable Imenda did not apologize to Archbishop Banda and the team over those remarks for calling them Lucifer of Zambia, or Lucifers of Zambia. So that's why I wanted to find out from you, when was this apology rendered?
Well, what I can now bring to your attention is that because this matter, you are now bringing to my attention that they reiterated it as one of their areas of concern. I cannot therefore proceed to comment on the same, because then it becomes part and parcel of what will be discussed at the dialogue forum between government and the Catholic bishops. I can't comment further because I will be presumptuous.
So if this matter, Honorable Minister, will be part of the agenda that will be discussed under the forthcoming dialogue with the church and the other stakeholders, then it will be misleading for you possibly to claim that Archbishop or your SG apologized to the Catholic bishop or apologized to Dr. Arik Banda. Is that so?
No, I'm not misleading myself at all. Innocent. Very far from it. I'm telling you details of things that I know. Remember that it's not every meeting that takes place between government officials and civil society or church that you yourselves as media get to know all the facts. And this is what I'm telling you, that Honorable Imenda was in that meeting with the Catholic bishops where he apologized in person to them. Maybe the issue should be that you should be demanding is to say maybe he did not make a public apology. An apology was rendered.
Right. Let's also add on to this issue, Honorable Minister, of course, the rule of law in Zambia. Just last week, we also read a very long statement that came from the OSIDA as well. They've been speaking to the same issues. Your government has been accused that your government is, number one, arrogant. Your government seems not to be willing to listen to critical voices. You only want to listen to yourselves. Among the issues they brought in was the matter of the rule of law as well, and also the happening in the patriotic front. OSIDA was clear that your government seems to be the one sponsoring the confusion in the former ruling party.
Innocent, you are making my day right now. Now, let me be serious on this particular issue. Firstly, New Dawn administration has nothing to do with the happenings in the Patriotic Front. You may wish to recall that Mr. Mao Zambia wanted to become president of PF from as far early as 2015. In fact, 2014, when Mr. Michael Sata, when we lost Mr. Michael Sata, and may he so rest in peace. Now, are you telling me that it was UPND sponsoring Mr. Mao Zambia in 2015 when PF were in government and Mr. Mao Zambia wanted to be president? No. So this is a person who has always wanted to become president of the Patriotic Front. And from the way they are, in fact, I'm getting very surprised that we must be made to answer for the confusion that is happening in a political party, which is an intra-party issue. We have no business in PF. Look, Innocent, we were in the opposition ourselves for many, many years. We had a situation where after elections, the government would poach a number of our MPs. I recall in 2003 that President Mwanawasa, may he so rest in peace, poached, I think, about 8 MPs at once, if not more. Did we cry foul? You recall also, not too long ago, that once PF were declared winning opposition, we held together, we were disciplined. We had issues of Bill 10, where they were busy looking for people to vote with them. Because we were disciplined, we had a vision for country. We held together as united. Why is it that whenever PF have problems, then people must join all over to begin to mourn with them? Why mourn with people like that? Today I don't want to call them names.
Let's look at the signs, Honorable Minister. Let's look at these signs and the possible evidence that points fingers at your administration of having gone to bed with Honorable Mausampa. And I'll quote a letter which was issued by OSIDA here. One of the bullets that I've highlighted is that there is a decreasing confidence in the judiciary, and they appeal to the Chief Justice, Honorable Mumbamalira, to quickly get involved. On number 2, they are saying we call on the Chief Justice, Dr. Mumbamalira, to take keen interest in the cases they have, in the cases which are critical in nature. Now, number 3, that's where I want to now to take note of this. He's saying, they are saying, we are gravely concerned with the conduct of the judiciary in political sensitive cases involving the main opposition political party, PF, and Mr. Mausampa, including the one which stems from what they call illegal convention that was facilitated by the state on the 24th of October 2023. So OSIDA here is not missing the words. They are saying this illegal convention was facilitated by you, the state. But of course, maybe if you may, I want to argue. My question I have to you, what OSIDA is saying by facilitating this illegal convention, which has been described in this manner, is that who sent those police officers to go and man the illegal convention according to OSIDA on that particular day? And that was a busy day, that was the 24th of October, which was Independence. How did Honorable Mausampa and his team manage to have his fair share of the police officers? And who paid those police officers? Because when they were on duty, those, if I told there were some allowances.
Thank you very much, Innocent, for that question. And I'll answer it squarely and fairly. Please call Mr. Mausampa and ask him to answer those questions. Because me, I was not there. We in government, we were not there. We don't know. Ask the ones who are involved. They will tell you whether they wrote to ask for police presence. I'm sure they have documentation. You are asking me to answer for a club affair. Me, I can only answer for UPND party and for UPND government. Not
those
PF.
Are your police officers, Minister. Honorable Minister, those are your police officers. All the police officers belong to the government of Zambia, and the man in charge of the Republic of Zambia or the government, it is you who speak on behalf of the government. So you can't run away, you can't escape to say, go and ask Honorable Mausampa. My question is, I'm asking you, who allowed those police officers to go and man that convention? And who paid them?
Let me make it easier for you, Innocent, because you are lucky you have me in this situation, because I'm a policeman myself. I know how the police works very well. The police, if you are going to have a wedding, Innocent, you can write to the nearest police station, the officer in charge, requesting for police motorcade to escort you for that wedding. If you want police to man a private event, you write to them and say, we request for such a number of police officers, we have such a function, and we are going to pay them allowances. Whenever police are going to do something which is away from normal duty of government, the one who has invited them pays them. The same way when you find police are manning a bit at a bank, just know that the bank is the one paying those police officers at that bit allowances. That is how police works. If you want, try it tomorrow. Write to police and say, we want police officers to come and be manning KBN. They will come and start providing security at KBN, and they will be charging you.
Don't you think, Honorable
Mr.
Minister, that Honorable Minister, don't you think this is the, what many citizens have described as the hypocrisy from your end in the manner you are doing things? Because on a busy day like Independence Day, when Zambians or when the police officers were anticipated to be more busier than a normal day, Honorable Mao Sampa or this opposition leader managed to have his fair share of the police officers. On a busy day, Honorable Minister, let's just pause a little bit and answer that question. But when the opposition apply or notify the police to have a rally on a normal day, a not busy day, you are saying the police are busy or the situation is not okay in the country. Don't you think that's the hypocrisy which Zambians or some Zambians have talked about?
Well, first of all, I don't know what you're talking about here. What do you mean hypocrisy? I need to understand. Innocent, what do you mean?
What I mean, Honorable Minister, is that we've seen the opposition political party leaders or political parties in this country who have attempted to have public rallies on a normal day when the country is not busy. There are no public functions whatsoever. And I've been told that the police officers are busy or we don't have enough manpower to come and police your event. And then Independence Day comes, a busy day, this opposition political party leader manages to have a fair share of his function in the name of Honorable Mao Sampa. Is this not the hypocrisy or the double standards which Zambians have talked about? Not long again, we also saw Honorable Mao Sampa being received by a battalion of police officers at the airport when he was arriving from South Africa. All these are examples. These are things that are, lingering in the minds of the people. That's what I mean, Honorable Minister.
Well, first of all, let me put this matter into perspective. Number one, that it is not government policy and position to deny opposition their space to do their politics. And going forward, the government position is very clear. We want our citizens to enjoy the rights as enshrined in the Constitution. What we saw as wrong in the opposition cannot all of a sudden become right now that we are in government. That is government position. And the president is determined to ensure that we continue to govern on the basis of the rule of law. Number two, when you talk about Mr. Mao Sampa, being received by police, I want to indicate maybe you're asking me too much that I should. But I'll tell you that Mr. Mao Sampa, just like many of the colleagues in PF, we are friends. And those who are in PF, they know the number of threats at the life of Mr. Mao Sampa that he has received. And it is him, at his own behest, who requested for protection as a lawmaker, that in view of these threats, and remember this, when you want this police protection, you don't come to me or to go to Honorable Jackie Mwimbu. No, you write to police to say there is this security threat, I need help. Because the mandate of the police is just two. One, to preserve life of citizens. Number two is to protect property by maintaining law and order in the country. So if you yourself there, you feel threatened, you have a barrage of messages on your WhatsApp, people threatening you to say, this move which you have done, we are going to do this and this and this to you. You are at liberty to write to police, and police will give you protection because you are a citizen. We should not politicize everything, including things that are straightforward.
All right, Honorable Minister, we have to begin to wind up. I will allow maybe a few phone calls to come in, maybe 2 or 3 calls to come in as we wind up the program. But before that, there is a question here and a challenge that has come from Honorable Mr. Andiford Mayele Banda, President of the People's Alliance for Change. He was made a few demands. Actually, he's given your government through ZCCM-IH 27 hours in which they should be able to disclose in terms of the relevance and also the legibility of another company. Let me just read the full statement so that we don't confuse ourselves. So the statement reads in part here: Opposition People's Alliance for Change, Party President Andiford Mayele Banda has issued a 7-day ultimatum to ZCCM-IH to provide information regarding the profile of government's recent unveiled strategic equity partner in Mopani Copper Mine, International Resources Holdings IRH of Abu Dhabi. In December last year, Party President Mr. Mayele Banda wrote to ZCCM-IH Chief Executive Officer demanding for an explanation to show how a foreign entity without traceable, these are things I would want you, Honorable Minister, to mark, without traceable operations in mining could be considered as an equity partner in Mopani. However, following the lack of feedback from the publicly listed company within which has 75% government shareholding, the party has now engaged lawyers from EM Mukuka and the company legal practitioners requesting for information to be availed to their client Park within 7 days, in which failure to which they will be able to take legal actions. So maybe you may be able to answer these questions being asked by Mr. Andiford Mayele Banda in terms of the equity partnership of this foreign company, which is an international resources holding IRH of Abu Dhabi. What's the truth about it?
Well, first of all, Innocent, I think that that issue which you have raised, first of all, I'm thinking to myself that in this era, when you want information from public entity, is there still need for ultimatum? There is access to information. So just check the provisions that relate to the same. No acrimony, and you'll be given the right information. That's all. It should not be it shouldn't be a difficult issue. There is access to information law which entitles citizens to access such information. So I would urge Mr. Andiford Banda to just follow through the channels as provided by law to access that information, because that ultimatum may not be, in my view, the right way to go about it. Or maybe this is a challenge to us as a Minister of Information to do more to publicize the access to information law and the provisions and opportunities that citizens can utilize to access information. No need for acrimony.
Thank you so much, Minister. Thank you so much. That's the answer maybe we are looking for. Lastly, let's look at the confusion going on right now in Serenge. You got Serenge. We've seen that there's confusion where some suspected UPND cadres are busy grabbing people's minds, and they are going on in Serenge. You can go to Chitambo as well. These are reports that we have received. With so much confusion happening in the mining sector, also some youths have died in Chingola there at Senseli, a mining site, and yet your government assured to remedy all these problems. How do you intend to resolve these issues where your suspected UPND cadres are said to be grabbing people's mines in Serenge and Chitambo?
Well, thank you for that piece of information. The only thing I can do right now is to give you government assurance that no one will have their mine grabbed by any individual donning themselves as a UPND supporter, or as we call ourselves, a cadre. I think that the government is very clear about how it wants goings about in that particular sector. that whoever wants to get involved in mining, you need to get a mining license. And the beauty with this particular sector is that it's not happening for the first time. We have seen that there are cases already that are before the courts of law relating to certain individuals encroaching on people's mines, those people being UPND members. They're appearing before the courts of law right now. So I don't see that there should be any difference right now. No one is going to be entering mines illegally. So that it is just that simple and basic. President HH is a president who is leading under the armpit of the rule of law, and therefore there should be no change of heart, even when those who may be said to be involved are said to be UPND's supporters. I think that the president actually reiterated this particular point when he was addressing the nation 2 weeks ago, to say genuine UPND members will heed to his guidance and ensure that we are going to lead the country in accordance with the electoral commitments and promises, namely rule of law.
All right, let me just pick up 2 calls, then we close the program. Honorable Minister. Caller, good evening and welcome to State of the Nation.
Good evening.
Good evening. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Yes, this is Mulonda. I'm calling from Dola.
Please go ahead, Mr. Mulonda. I've got a minute.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, good evening.
Good evening.
Please go ahead, we're able to get you.
Okay, thank you. Minister, pertaining to campaign meetings, isn't there a period when you are nearing election day, that's when campaign rallies should take place? What does the electoral code state on this one? Then secondly, don't you think the police do receive certain information pertaining to the security of the nation, and can weigh whether a certain gathering or rally or whatever can be risky to the security of the nation, and can stop that, can say no to such an application? In this case, we had members of the opposition saying we'll take our own way, saying people will write, and in fact, very clear that the opposition would rather the public rose against the government using violence.
All right.
So do you think the police of their own have they got to be told by the government, by you people in the government?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mulonda. You are now answering your own question. The minister will respond to you. Thank you so much.
No, don't be lying, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, what is your question? Thank you so much, Mr. Mulonda. We appreciate you. All right, I can pick up my last call, and then from there we call it a night. We know that we began the program a little bit late, and of course our time has already been compensated. Caller, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, comrade.
Good evening. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
This is Comrade Mukosa, calling from within Lusaka.
Please go ahead, Comrade Mukosa.
Yeah, may I just want to find out from Honorable Minister, as a party, when are they going to start following up to monitor CDF projects? Because we have observed that in some constituencies, those where MPs who are coming from opposition, they don't want to take development there because they feel threatened to say it will give people of those areas will give credit to the New Dawn government. So, and it will be an advantage to the New Dawn government in 2026. Then the second one, I want to talk about the division that are in PF. I think it is just an encouragement to the PF members that as long as they continue to accuse other political parties and the member of the Republic, innocent member of this country, they won't solve their problems. The problem they have, they need to solve it as a party. They erred when they allowed Joaid Garungu to come back. Because if really Joaid Garungu allows PF, what he would have done is to sit down the people that he suspects to be the one bringing problems in PF, to chart the way forward. But now he has allowed himself to be part of the problem. And those people who are aspiring to become president of PF, now they don't just show it or tell it out because they are afraid of the same Garung, but they are not happy. So the good thing they can do is to sit down as a political party and desist from accusing innocent people who have got nothing whatsoever about what is happening in their party. I think this is what I wanted to put across, Comrade.
Thank you so much, Comrade Mkosa. We appreciate you. All right, Minister, you may attend to the two questions, comments that have come from our callers, Mr. Mlonda, who was advancing a question that don't you think that the police officers, they have got a mandate to sometimes check within the law and decide whether to give a go-ahead a rally or not? At the same time, Mr. Mlonda, he goes and emphasizes further to make a point that what does the law say on public rallies? Can a political party hold a rally now? That's a question, if I got Mr. Mlonda correctly.
Thank you very much. On the first question of is there time for rallies to be held? Can we wait? Can we read the Electoral Act and maybe it spells out a time when there should be campaigns? Well, campaign rallies, the Electoral Act speaks about campaign period and stipulates the campaign period to be three months from, within 3 months of the date of elections. Now, these meetings that political parties want to hold right now do not fall within that definition of campaign rally. These are ordinary political meetings which are guaranteed by the Constitution in terms of the right to freely associate. So that right cannot be extinguished by any other subsidiary legislation, including the Electoral Act. Citizens should enjoy that right of assembly at all times, the right to assemble, the right to associate. It's actually called the right of assembly and association. So that cannot be extinguished by any other subsidiary legislation. It is entrenched in the Constitution. And what that means is that it cannot be, even Parliament cannot amend that particular provision. It has to be amended through a referendum by the people of Zambia. That's how important that right is. Now, secondly, the issue to do with can the police determine the security situation in the country and therefore give a go-ahead or not? Of course, the police have the mandate to determine the security situation in the country, particularly where the opposition have been calling to take the law in their own hands, calling on the citizens, rise, 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 as epitomized by Honorable Given Rubinda, to rise and go where? People are enjoying their peace, which you denied the people. Under your leadership, there was anarchy. People were scared to speak freely. They only managed to speak through the ballot. Today, you want to become champions of freedoms that you denied the citizens. Rise, rise, rise to where? So now, when you have that kind of a situation, you find that the police become apprehensive that if these people are calling for anarchy in the country, they want to take the law in their own hands. They are even talking of bloodshed in the country for the first time. So police they raise their security antenna so high that even when a genuine meeting is being called by the opposition, the police may suspect that this could be one of those meeting that might end up spiraling out and degenerating into disorder. Since these people's intent is already in public domain, it's known that they want disorder in the country. That is not to say we would like, as government, that the police would deny citizens from enjoying their rights. No, the police are there to facilitate for the smooth enjoyment of the rights of the people, and therefore nothing unreasonable, and I'm using the word reasonable in the legal sense, nothing unreasonable should be done to prevent citizens from enjoying their rights.
Right.
We have also to be mindful that where your right ends, mine begins. So we must be very, very mindful. Then Mr. Mkosa is talking about CDF, monitoring CDF projects. Well, I think I'm finding a bit of a challenge, I must be honest here. I've been a member of parliament, this is my third term. All the 10 years that I was a member of parliament in the opposition, each time government released money to us as members of parliament, there is no single day it crossed my mind that, no, this money, I'll hold it back, I'll not use it, so that if I use it, the government of the day will look popular. Because after all, Constituency Development Fund is a fund that was created by members of parliament to be able to make them relevant to the electorate so that they can be closer to the people, they can be the drivers of the developmental agenda in the constituency. That's why it's called Constituency Development Fund. So in my mind of minds, I actually think that the majority of MPs out there actually want to use their CDF for the benefit of their electorates, because in fact all those who are using CDF prudently, they are becoming more relevant and connected to their electorates. They are endearing their relationship using CDF. So at some point, I don't understand where a member of parliament really would say, no, we want to use CDF because a new dawn will become popular. I think that would be quite detrimental to any member of parliament. And as far as I know, the majority of members of parliament, if not all, really want to use CDF to the fullest to ensure that their electorates benefit, and it also gives them that connection with the electorates. And I can tell you, Innocent, in 2026, you expect a higher number of members of parliament being returned to parliament, because now they have become more relevant to the electorates because of the expanded CDF, which has seen them commission more projects than we ever commissioned before ourselves.
And how do you rate your stay in government, Honorable Minister? Some people are saying that possibly come 2026 you'll be voted out of power. How would you rate your chances of remaining in power come 2026?
Well, I think for me, that is in the purview of the people of Zambia. They determine, what they want at a given time. But so far, going by the performance of this particular president, President HH, when you look at the electoral commitments made, those that have been delivered, I see no reason why he cannot secure another term. I think he has brought decency to the presidency, and not just decency. He is working around the clock, trying to turn around the economic situation of our country. I am pretty sure that by 2026, Zambia's economic outlook will be far much more better than where we are now. We are still in the reconstruction stage. To destroy is easier, to rebuild is more difficult, but we have a president who is equal to the task. And I think the majority of Zambians today, even if you voted Innocent, today, not tomorrow, I can tell you that President HH will bounce back on account of what he has been able to do. There is sounding sanity of peace in the nation that is reigning supreme. Today you can host me here. Today you can host opposition. No fear that some funny group of thugs will storm your TV station and say, COVID. Look at that drama is over.
Go now. Confirm with me, Minister, as we go right now for the sake of the debate. many citizens, feels that the 2 years you were blaming the Patriotic Front. It was all about what they did. It was all about the mess they left. Would you confirm that the blame game now is a long gone story beginning this year as we go?
Innocent. It's not going anywhere. It's here to stay for as long as we see the consequences of the decisions that were made by the Patriotic Front in government. And you, particularly you, Innocent, you are trying to lump that on me to say you as New Dawn. I'll always remind you that we are here because of where we've come from. A man without a history cannot be used as a reliable guide for the future. I have stated elsewhere that asking us to stop talking about the Patriotic Front is like asking Christians to stop mentioning the devil as they go to church, yet they know that the devil is the one who is busy tempting them every day and putting them in this difficult situation they find themselves, that they must pray ceaselessly.
Allow me to appreciate you for joining us, of course, this evening on KBN TV. I should confirm to you that we've received a lot of queries where some people were accusing us that possibly we had blacklisted you from appearing in KBN TV.